So one of the things we're going to be doing tonight is I got a PSA return back. We got a stack here to go over. It's actually one of the specials that I think it was TCG holiday special looks like. So in December, they did like a $13.99 special. I think they're doing a $13.99 right now for February. But this special showed up really fast. I think they arrived at PSA January 10th and they got back on January 29th. So it was literally less than 3 weeks turnaround time with that TCG special. They were flying. So we've got a nice stack of about 30 cards-ish to go over. Some really fun stuff in here. First card. Looks like we have a little tiny piece of whitening there. Nothing too crazy. Maybe a little tiny piece of whitening down here as well. Let's see what PSA gave it. All right, so we got a Dream Shine Collection Mew. I really like the hollow pattern across the front of this. And it got the Gem Mint 10. So even with the little tiny piece of whitening in that top middle spot, that beautiful Mew still got the Gem Mint 10. So that's pretty awesome. This one, if I recall correctly, very, very clean card. No bends or scratches or anything on the back of the card. Boom. It is the Mewtwo Level X. This is from a deck, I think. Yeah, Mewtwo Level X collection pack. And we got the 10 on the Mewtwo Level X from 2009. So nice Mewtwo Tag Team 10s on those. Next up, we've got some Ampharos cards. First Ampharos we have here. Look at that. Beautiful swirl on the left-hand side next to the tail. Absolutely popping there. This is Shining Darkness Ampharos. One of my favorite Ampharos cards, not surprisingly, is a Saito card. Really nice looking hollow pattern on this. I love that he's using Thunder or some sort. Ampharos is one of my favorite Pokemon. Definitely a Gen 2 GOAT. Absolutely love it from that era. Always had him in my team. Always had to catch a Mareep early. And then Ampharos actually got some Bug Buzz or like a bug type move that was really powerful against the Elite Four once you unlocked it later on in the game. So yeah, Ampharos is one of my faves, and this card is gorgeous with that fat swirl on the left-hand side. Another Ampharos. This one is from Team Rocket Returns. Another awesome swirl here in the top right. Beautiful looking hollow pattern around the Ampharos. Again, another Ampharos card where he's actually attacking. Lots of action happening here. Really good. This is a first edition version. A lot of times I'll be, looking for those unlimited versions of certain sets in the mid-era, but this one, really nice first edition card. We've got another kind of mid-era. Would you count X and Y in the mid-era? I don't know if I would. It's like right on the edge of the, is it modern? Is it mid-era? It's kind of in that weird spot, but we've got the Mega Ampharos EX. We've got the awesome like 80s hairdo that they gave him, his Mega version. I absolutely love it. There were some people that really didn't like the letters. They felt like it took away from the artwork. I think it really adds to the artwork, and I love how the Japanese versions have English lettering. The English versions have Japanese lettering. I like that little touch to it. I haven't actually bought a lot of Mega cards in the past, and I'm not sure how it's going to sell, but I thought it was super cool, and it looked really clean, and it got the 10. Next up, we've got a Dragonite. I have not bought this card before. This is just a Dragonite Holo. Now, I really like the Gyarados Holo that is in this same kind of full art form from the X and Y era. This is a first edition Dragonite card. Not huge on this artwork at all. It's that three-dimensional kind of CGI looking art. Not my favorite. He's kind of weirdly punching the ground, but it doesn't even look like he's connecting with the ground to actually punch it. So I don't know. It's not my favorite. Definitely not my favorite, but it's a nice looking, Dragonite. People really like Dragonite, so hopefully that one sells decently for me. Next up, we've got one of the worst Typhlosion holos in the history of the TCG, in my opinion. Typhlosion has some amazing artworks, and for some reason, who did this? Kano did a interesting artwork here on this Secret of the Lakes Typhlosion. Definitely not my favorite artwork of Typhlosion. Very derpy looking. Actually, this entire line looks super derpy looking, and they're all here in this stack. This is, again, a PSA 10. Now, if you want to talk about goated Typhlosion artworks, this Golden Sky Silvery Ocean card is insanely nice. This is actually the third PSA 10 that I have, and my other PSA 10s have been sitting on my store for a while, so maybe I need to lower the prices on those. But we do have the Golden Sky Silvery Ocean Typhlosion in a PSA 10. Absolutely amazing looking card, and it's unlimited, so that's pretty cool. If you want to see the other two in that same line that are also super derpy, we have the Meganium, which is probably the better of the three, and then the Feraligatr, which is probably the worst of the three, because it is the ultimate derpy looking card, especially when you think of all the amazing Feraligatr artworks we've had. Meganium is Meganium. Meganium, I feel like, always looks a little derpy looking, but yeah, so we got the 10 for the Meganium, and we got the 9 for the Feraligatr. Still really cool looking cards. Kind of sucks that we got the 9 for the Feraligatr, but I think it was probably centering. The bottom border here is pretty thin compared to the top border. This one is a pretty big one. I sold one of these recently for a few $100s, but we've got the Feraligatr Prime, and this is in PSA 10, a Japanese Feraligatr Prime. Love the hollow borders. I actually really like the Prime cards. I know some people are like, oh, this too zoomed in, yada yada, and they weren't huge fans of the Prime cards when they first came out, but I actually really like most of them. They're kind of menacing. They're kind of like Rocket cards that we never got in the earlier sets, because they definitely are harsh shadow, very menacing looking artworks for the most part, and I actually think they look really nice. So we got a PSA 10 Feraligatr. Last one I sold for this is, yeah, it was like $300 maybe, but I think some last solds are a little bit lower than that, so it's probably listed a little less than that on eBay right now. These are cards that I love to buy all the time. You see them all the time. We've got some Heart Gold, Soul Silver era cards. We've got Ninetales and a couple of Arcanine. This Ninetales got the PSA 10, and then we have a couple of Arcanine. So this first Arcanine, unfortunately, is a 9. But the second Arcanine is a 10. And I say this every time in every video where these appear, but I love these cards because of the inclusion of the stones. I think it was a great way to tie in what happens in the game, how to evolve Arcanine and the other Pokemon with their stones, and how they decided to incorporate that. Same thing with the Slowking from this set. They actually added the King's Rock, the rock that's in the shape of a crown. They actually added that to the artwork as well. That's how the evolution to Slowking happened. So it's just a really nice way to tie moments from the games into the actual card game. All right, we've got a couple more Arcanine Hollows. We've got Magma vs. Aqua first edition. This one's got a fat swirl on the left-hand side. I am definitely that guy who will pay more for a swirl. I don't know why. It's such a dynamic thing to add to the artwork. It just makes it a little bit more unique, and I feel like the swirl, it is more eye-appealing when cards have a swirl to me than when they don't have a swirl. So we do have 2 of these Magma vs. Aqua first edition Arcanines. Another amazing artwork in my opinion. We got 2 of them. Unfortunately, they both got 9s, but they were both pretty off-center, top to bottom, so I wasn't surprised that they got 9s, but it would have been nice for one of them to snag a 10. We did get an unlimited and a first edition copy. They both got 9s. We're going back to Team Rocket Returns. We've got another awesome holo. This one, Tyranitar Gen 2, absolute badass. This is a first edition, a dark Tyranitar holo. Absolutely beautiful in a PSA 10. And then the next one here from the Black Deck kit is also in a PSA 10. It's got that nice holofoil pattern that goes all the way across the front. Oh, this one does have a 6 swirl. Can you see it? It's right there. Kind of tough to see because it has that white lightning bolt right behind it, so it kind of goes right through the swirl, but it also has a badass swirl up there. Next up, we got some Gyarados cards. I really like this card, man. It reminds me a lot of the Shining Gyarados artwork. Obviously, it's not a shiny Gyarados, but that whole, like, coming out of the sea, attacking or at least intimidating the fishermen, very Gen 2-esque when you go into the Lake of Rage. Tokiya is one of my favorite illustrators. I don't know if they've done anything recently. I would love for a Tokiya alternate art. I really like kind of the edgy anime style that Tokiya has. It would be really nice if they did a shiny version of that, for sure. Would be beautiful. That was a PSA 10. And we got another one of these, another Soul Silver Gyarados Holo in a PSA 10. So far, we've done very well in the PSA 10 camp. A large percentage of this submission was PSA 10. We are going to get into some 9s now, though. We do have a couple of Vaporeon cards. Golden Sky, Silvery Ocean, first edition Vaporeon. I think one of them is first edition, and are they both first edition? They are both first edition, so I have 2 of these. Nice watercolor artwork from Nishida. Unfortunately, 2 9s, but that's okay. The centering is a little bit off on the one on the right. I wonder if there's anything. There is a little bit of whitening on each of these, but I've seen worse looking cards get 10s. Definitely, these cards do not go for a lot in a 9, so when I do buy them, it's more of like a break even on 9s, make, you know, a decent margin on 10s with the mid-era stuff. A little bit more risky than buying modern, but it's still a lot of fun, and some of the artworks are just absolutely stunning. Kind of like this one. Another kind of watercolor looking art. We've got the Magma vs. Aqua. This one's first edition Jolteon. We've got a nice little swirl above his head, and we actually got 4 of these, and all 4 of them got 10s, which is actually kind of crazy. I'm not sure I was expecting all 4 of these to get 10s. It looks like we got 3 first edition and 1 unlimited version of the card. Really nice Jolteon artwork and 4 PSA 10s. That's actually kind of crazy. This Flareon, really cool. He's kind of stepping on a swirl there on the ground. And I like this too because the Flareon's eyes are actually hollow, which is really awesome too. Flareon has some amazing artworks. Actually, I didn't actually like Flareon all that much until I got really into buying and selling with the TCG. And then you start looking at a bunch of Flareon artworks and you're like, holy crap, like Flareon's got some sick artworks, like the Delta species Flareon, this Flareon, the next Flareon I'm going to show. Really, really beautiful artwork. So this one got the 9, unfortunately, the Magma Aqua one, but the Golden Sky Silvery Ocean did get the 10. There is a part of me that's like, man, maybe I need to start holding some of these back. Some of these that have swirl, some of these that are unlimited that I really just like looking at. Maybe I need to hold on to them a little bit longer than I normally do. The last 3 cards we have here from this submission, we've got the nice Umbreon from Reviving Legends. Now this is kind of weird. So this was the one that I thought was going to do, I thought this would get an 8. Right in this area, there is a deep scratch on this card. I'm pretty happy that it still got the 9. It was mint otherwise. It just had that scratch on the back. So I wasn't quite sure if that was going to, you know, negatively detract or how much it was going to negatively detract. Last but not least, I did have 2 of these. I already sold one of them. Of course, I sold the one that had the swirl, but there was one that had a swirl right next to the face where it was looking. It almost looked like it was looking at the swirl, which is really cool. This is the Reviving Legends Espeon Hollow. This one got the PSA 10. And then we also did get a Magma vs. Aqua first edition in a PSA 9. Now, these cards actually didn't come out in holo. In English, I think you had to get a reverse holo version or a non-holo version, but they did come out in holo in Japanese. So we got a first edition Magma Aqua Espeon. Beautiful card. This is in a Rita artwork, I believe. I don't think I've ever gotten a PSA 10 of this. I've gotten a couple PSA 10 of the Umbreon from the Magma Aqua, but I don't think I've gotten a PSA 10 of the Espeon yet. So still going to be searching for that PSA 10. Lots of 10s, a few 9s. We did really well for that submission. I've got a bunch of cards out with PSA right now, so we're going to have a lot of cards coming in the near future.